1.4 is bisector, midpoint, and vertex on a diagram. So again, we're throwing some vocab at you that you need to be able to look at a picture and how it's marked up and figure out which of these things are true from the picture. Okay, and it could be more than one thing because it says which of the following statements must be true, and we've got check boxes. So let's see what we've got. Right here in this picture, all I see is that this segment here, O to M, is the same distance, it's congruent to L to O. So that makes O be what's called as a midpoint. A midpoint is right in the middle, so that could show up. We also need to know that the line that is cutting this LM into two equal parts is called a segment bisector. Remember, segment being a line, bisector meaning bisect, cut it in half. So it is the line that is doing the cutting of the other line. So it says segment KO is a segment bisector. We just said that. KO is bisecting this line where it meets at O. So that is a yes. Line KO is an angle bisector. For it to be an angle bisector, we would need to see two arcs here that says that this angle and this angle are equal from that line, and that's not happening, so that's out. K is the vertex of a pair of congruent angles in the diagram. So K is a vertex to congruent angles. Again, I don't see congruent angles. There's no angle marking, so that's out. K is the vertex of a right angle. Do you see a 90-degree right angle here at K? No. O is the vertex of a right angle. Do you see any right angle symbol there? No. And it's not none of the above. So all we can say is that line KO was a segment bisector. Could have also said maybe O is a midpoint. We would have chosen that. All right, number 2. We got what's known as a perpendicular bisector. So that means two things. Perpendicular meaning forms right angles. Right angle, which is the 90 degrees, and bisecting, meaning cut in half or two equal parts. Okay, so it does two things. So right here, looking at this picture, I see that BE, this is an equal distance as E to C. That makes E called a midpoint, because it is literally in the middle of this line. And the line that is doing the cutting is this DE. So we would simply call this another segment bisector, but because it specifically makes a right angle with the line that's cutting in half, that is called a perpendicular bisector. So it's just getting a little bit more specific from the first one. All right, so let's see our options. Segment ED is a segment bisector. Yeah, it is cutting a segment into two equal parts. So yes, but even further, it is a perpendicular bisector, as we said. E is the vertex of a right angle. Couldn't we name this angle BED? And E is the vertex where there's a 90 or right angle? Yes. D is the vertex of a right angle. Nah, I don't see a right angle there, so that one's out. E is the midpoint of a segment. Yes. And of course, it's not none of the above. All right, number 3, an angle bisector. So now we have an angle getting cut in half. No, I don't see any segments that are congruent. So right here, sometimes what they like to do is make arcs and tick marks. You don't see that a whole lot, but that's what that means, is that this angle is congruent to this angle. So you have congruent angles here and here. And then the line that is doing that cutting is line IJ. So this is called an angle bisector. It is a line that is cutting this angle right to where it'd be in the middle. So we're going to say that IJ is a perpendicular bisector. No, it almost looks like they make right angles here, but we can't assume, so that's out. Segment IJ is an angle bisector. Yes. I is the vertex. It's like the middle point of a pair of congruent angles. Yeah, because we have angle HIJ and GIJ. So yes, I is the vertex of a right angle. No. I is a midpoint. No, because I don't even see congruent segments, and that would be it. And then the last one is maybe there's nothing. So in this picture, I do see congruent segments and congruent angles, but I don't see a midpoint. We would never say a midpoint is here. A midpoint has to be just one single straight line where it makes a point between two equal things. So that's not a midpoint. And we don't have a angle bisector here because this is cutting two different angles. Okay, so is RT, right here, a segment bisector? Is it cutting a line in half? No. Is RT a perpendicular bisector? I don't see any right angles. No. R is a vertex of a right angle. I don't see a 90 there. No. R is a midpoint of a segment. No, I don't even see a straight line here. T is a midpoint. No. So it's none of the above.